Another night, another drive. I'm trying something else new again, some more. I looked at some of the other videos and they're really hard to see. It's really, really hard to see what's going on. So I'm trying the front-facing camera on my phone to see if maybe that makes a difference, or more accurately, to see if it helps that I can see what's going on. It's not as good a camera, but since it's close up and you can't really see what's going on anyway, I don't think it makes matters worse to use a slightly less bad camera, since the whole thing's kind of impressionistic, if that's even right. I'm kicking along the editing, and that's going well. I don't know why I give these progress reports. I mean, you know what? If nothing else, it just gives me an idea of when things happened, and kind of what my backlog looks like as far as comments, and of which there are none and probably won't be for some time. And what are we doing? There's some shenanigans going on here. But as far as the backlog of comments and topics and what have you, so I think, though I'm not totally sure, I am currently at the first... Oh, this person's going to let me in. That's very kind of them. Thank you. I think I'm at the first of the I ran out of space, this recording is now lost things, because that happened to me. I ran out of space like halfway through a rant, and I don't know where I was when it ran out because I wasn't looking. I was just going, and I was on a roll, but I don't know if that's the one I'm looking at or not. It doesn't have a paired second part, which is what makes me think that's what it was. Acutely aware of how I look now, because I can see it. That's the downside of the front-facing camera, the so-called selfie cam, because I can see my face, and so now I think about what it looks like, and I don't want to think about what it looks like. I just want to talk. Anything interesting to talk about today? AI? Nah. I have a coworker who's firmly convinced that the robots are going to get us all, and while that's all well and good, like I don't disagree with him that a fully functioning artificial superintelligence is going to outclass anything that the combined mass of humanity can put together. I don't actually disagree on that point. I think first he's making a category error of assuming, like every time he pulls up something he's like, man, what are the AIs going to think of this? Every time he does that, I think he's making a fundamental error of assuming that an artificial superintelligence is going to emotionally behave anything like how a human does. And human intelligence does specific things for specific reasons, and they're all pretty clear reasons, I think. Every time someone does something and you go, why the hell would you do that? If you were actually in their brain and listening to the processes, it would all flow. It'd go from A to B to C to D, all the way to whatever completely incomprehensible thing they've just done. People do things for reasons. They don't just randomly do stuff. Which I guess leads into a good topic. At any rate, so I'll see if I can remember that. I was going through a video and I had mentioned, oh, that's a great idea. If I have time, I'll talk about it. I had time. I forgot what the topic was. I don't know what it is off the top of my head now anyway. I can go back and look at it. It's the third video. Towards the beginning, I go, oh, that's a good topic. But this topic, the AIs, there's no reason to think that they would think like humans. At all. Right? So assuming that they would look at music videos and react in disgust and go, oh, what is this gross bullshit? There's no reason to think that they would think that instead of counting it as, oh, that's inexplicable human stuff. Who knows? Or go, oh, I know why humans do this, because of X, Y, and Z, obviously. All right. I think assuming that an AI is inevitably going to have a superior attitude is kind of missing the breadth of possible intelligences. The way that it could exist is going to be way different. The number of ways that it could exist is almost beyond count and is way different than the number of ways that we know of intelligence as existing. So that's one thing. And to assume that any superintelligence is going to go, well, this is trash, and just destroy humanity and take over, I think you're assuming that the AIs are going to think roughly like you do, but faster. And that's not necessarily true. There's no reason that they have to use decision algorithms like we use. A lot of my thinking on this topic has been heavily informed by Eliezer Yudkowsky. I've mentioned the Less Wrong community before, and the way that they think has heavily influenced my opinions on ethics and on AI, and I agree with them that. Oh, so now I can see it. I don't think that really. Wait just a second here. What does that do? That makes a shine on my mouth, and that's weird. It looks slightly less weird if it's shining on my eyes. Let's do that. Okay, so they are friendly AI researchers or enthusiasts or whatever they are. Go with researchers. And the idea there is that it's critical when developing a superintelligence that superintelligence actually advances your goals, right? So to put it in the broadest sense, or in the fuzziest sense, I guess, when we develop an AI, we want it to help humanity, right? We want to develop an AI that's actually going to benefit humanity. We don't want a Terminator scenario. We want something. We don't want a rise of the robots. Nobody needs that. What we want is something that will just vastly improve human condition. So to achieve that, we have to really nail down, first of all, what that even means, improving the human condition. And second, how we go about making decisions that make that happen. So we have to set up these goal scenarios. And the counter argument that he uses, my coworker used, is that if your AI can modify its own source code, which we want, actually, if we want a superintelligence, we want it to be able to modify its own source code so that it can be better. If it can modify its own source code, there's nothing you can do to restrain it. And the trick is then, and this is what the FAI people believe, the trick is to make sure that its goals match yours. And so so he would ask, well, what if it modifies its goals? The response to that, what's it going to modify its goals to? We're not just going to make an AI that will randomly change bits and pieces of code. It will fall apart rapidly. It's just going to collapse. And we'd have to force thousands of generations, millions of generations of this thing to make it work. And even then, we'd get basically our brains or something just as effective. And that doesn't help anyone. We don't want that. That's garbage. All right? The whole point of developing artificial intelligence is to make one that's more effective than a human. So we don't want to use evolutionary techniques. Like, we don't want to use non-self-reflective evolutionary techniques to make it work. Gross. It's got to be self-reflective toward a goal, right? It's going to make informed, intentional changes to itself. Well, to make intentional changes, it has to have an intent to change toward. It's got to be trying to go to something. And what's it trying to go to? And that's the part that you code in. And you have to build that, not in like some paper list, not like there's a file in its code and it goes, these are your goals, meet those goals. That's ridiculous. The way it makes decisions is going to be based on weights, and those weights are what we're determining to start with. And deeper than that, we have to figure out why things make decisions and figure out how do you formally state decision making so that when we bake it down into the code, the core of whatever this thing we build is, those are the decisions it makes. And that's really the way to do it. It doesn't, on the other hand, to come at this from a different angle, it doesn't actually make sense to just make a really smart thing and then hope that it does what you want it to. We have to rely on self-reflective code modification for it to be truly super intelligent. And so what we actually want to program is not the way it thinks. We want to program what it's trying to do when it modifies itself. I hope all that adds up. Sweet. So, remember what I said I wasn't going to do? Which is forget the other topic I could have talked about? I forgot what it was. If we're very lucky, I'll go back in and look at this video. I don't think we'll be that lucky, but who knows? We might do. I don't have enough time to cover whatever it was anyway. Start talking about AI. Think the thing like this. I don't know. I have no idea. That didn't translate very well because there's no light on my face. I don't want to put a light in the car because I think that might be illegal. Setting up that light thing might actually work. That would be really ridiculous to do. Where is it? There it is. That's the camera. So I'm looking straight at the camera now. There we are. Yeah, straight at the camera. So, yeah. Super intelligences. And they're not going to think like us. So, thinking that they'll think like us is silly. Trying to imagine, just think what the AIs are going to think when they see this. I have no way of knowing that. I can't know that. It's the idea of it is too broad. I don't know how they will think because they don't exist yet. I feel like it always comes at this with sort of a defeatist tone. Once the AIs are here, we're all screwed. Okay, are we doing anything about that? Or if it's inevitable that's going to happen, then just take it. Like, if you can't stop it, don't try, and stop fighting it. If you can stop it, awesome. If you can make it better, cool. Let's do that. Let's find ways so that the terrible thing that you envision doesn't come to pass. That's fine. Don't just declare that it's terrible and leave it. Just be like, oh, that's awful. And what? All right. That's awful, so you're gonna make more? I don't know what you're going for there. What's the next step? To tie all this back together, this is the thing that I don't do very well. It is the thing that I should do, and it is a thing that I have been told to do because I've made this same mistake. When I complain about something, when I note something is wrong, I don't take the next step and propose a solution, or often even really go looking for one. But that's today's lesson, and it's something that I need to start working on, and I think it's something that will improve my life. And I don't know if this is a problem for you, or if this is me preaching from a state of ignorance, but if you do that and mention something that is wrong or that is going bad, remember to at least think in your mind, what's next then? If it's wrong, how can we make it right? And maybe we can, but maybe we can push it one step toward right. And if we can do that, then we're one step closer, and that's a better position to see the next step. I can't see 3 steps from now, but maybe I can see the next step. And from there, we might be able to see the step after that. And if we can keep pushing things one step at a time, then it does get better. So there. I've been talking for like 2 videos about my New Year's resolutions. That's my resolution. That's what I'm going to try and do. When we notice something is wrong, let's try and take the next proactive step and make it better. All right, well, this has been awesome. You have a great night. Actually, I have plenty of space in my storage, so we'll hold off. Talk to you guys in like, I don't know, none seconds. He totally just, I was like, all right, let's get this thing started. And I hit the take a picture button, which is great. Welcome back, by the way. We're back, and everything is different except nothing is different. It's actually all pretty much the same. I looked it up and figured out what I was trying to talk about. The thing that was coming to mind, and it was free will was the thing that was getting me, that I wanted to talk about, because that was the other thing. I probably said this, so this will probably be totally rehashed and nothing like new or interesting, but I am a determinist, by which I mean that I believe that the course of the history of the universe is going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen, and that's what it is. There is one path through the history of the universe from beginning to end, and that is the path of history. From where I stand, I can't see that path. I can see bits and pieces of it. I can see the bits that I've been over, and I can make predictions about the bits that are next in my timeline, but I don't know what they are. And so the sense of uncertainty, and thereby the sense of free will, comes from the fact that I don't have enough information to declare what the next thing that's going to happen is. I don't know or I don't have certainty about T plus anything, and that gives that feeling of uncertainty, and that feeling of uncertainty is where your free will lives. The sense that you are able to choose your future nestles in that piece of uncertainty, that you don't know what's going to happen next, so you don't know what you're going to do next, which means that what you could do next is any of a number of things. What you will do next is some particular thing that's determined by the history leading up to the situation you're going to find yourself in. That is, your choices are going to be based on, and we'll make this dichotomy here, but it's actually, this is a false split, and it's we're actually splitting up something that's not supposed to be split up. But we'll make this dichotomy anyway, and we'll see how that goes. The choices that are made up are based on what you perceive as your physical capabilities, informed by your choices from desire, or by your desires, your wants, your needs, etc. The trick is your needs, your wants, your desires, and your preferences are determined by your past experiences and your genetics, which are kind of tied into one another pretty heavily. Your genetics and your history are very closely intertwined, so much so that asking the nature versus nurture question is actually misleading. It's falsely splitting the issue, because they're too closely intertwined for us to consider them separately in a realistic way. For the most part. There probably are experimental setups that will make that happen, but for the most part, genetics and upbringing are actually tied together really closely in a way that you can't just tease it out and say, well, this is because this event happened, and this is because they have gene X, Y, Z, Q. They're kind of, you might have X, Y, Z, Q because, and it happened, and it's complicated, very complicated, which is why you get uncertainty, which is where the illusion of free will comes from. The trick is, and what I was getting at earlier with talking about the false split there, is that your physical capabilities include your preferences. If you have a strong preference against something, that moves it either out of or close to out of the realm of physical possibility for you. You could say, well, I could just haul off and punch this person right here. But if you don't actually want to do that in any meaningful way, not just, have a burning desire, but if you want not to do that, which assume person is your friend and you don't punch people, then you don't want to do that. And so your brain, which is part of your physical makeup, will not put that decision into practice.